Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's shatter some paradigms. And the paradigm I'll share today concerns Jacob Frey and Christianophobia. Now, it's been probably about a week or so since the horrible shooting in Minneapolis. And Jacob Frey, who is the mayor of Minneapolis, came out with a statement. And what's gotten a lot of attention, and in fact, I did do a social media post on this, was the comment on thoughts and prayers. That's not where I want to go. I mean, I have thoughts on that, thoughts on thoughts and prayers, so to speak, but that's kind of been done to death right now. And I'd like to try to present something that's not being talked about and try to point out the importance of that. You see, there was another part of his response that deserves attention as well. In his response, he talked about not villainizing the trans community. I want to focus on that because I think there's an insight to be gained on that. Now, it's interesting to think about what community had been victimized. What community had been victimized was not the trans community. If there was community victimized, it was the Catholic community or the Christian community broader. Yet he decided to focus in on not villainizing the trans community. One can understand why he would do that. There is a chance that the trans in general will be blamed for what this one person did. So one can understand that. In fact, after 9/11, I was concerned once it was clear that Muslims had bombed the United States that we didn't get overly angry at Muslims everywhere and blame Muslims who had nothing to do with the bombing for the bombing. So one can understand that. My beef is not that he made that comment. My beef is that I don't think he makes that comment if a Christian has shot up some organization celebrating LGBTQ or anything like that. In 2021, there was a person who was a part of an evangelical church and 8 people were killed. And as soon as it was found out that he was part of an evangelical church, I saw a lot of comments online about, see, this is what evangelicalism does to people. See, Christians are driving people angry and mad. Now, the data actually shows that among Christians who attend church regularly, they're less likely to be violent on a wide variety of measures. But that blaming happened instantly. My guess is that Jacob Frey, if he had a comment after those shootings, and those shootings happened in Atlanta, not Minneapolis, so he didn't have a reason to have a comment, but if he did, it would probably be more in line of, look at the problems of evangelicalism. Why do I say this? To the best of my ability, no progressive or Democrat politician has ever said, after an event where an evangelical can be blamed, let's not blame the evangelical community. So, the question I ask is, when it comes to not associating an individual to an entire community, when the individual has done something horrible, does that only matter on more progressive groups? Or does that not matter when it concerns Christian groups, especially conservative Christian groups? And my observation is, it does not matter. We are free to link the individual to the community when it's conservative Christian groups. If we had a general policy in our country of not linking individuals to groups, and Frey was just building on that ideal, then that comment would have meant anything to me. But that's not the way it is in our society. And we know that if some Christian involved in bombing an abortion clinic, all of a sudden Christianity will be under scrutiny. under attack, if you will. Now, one could say that perhaps we should look at some of what we teach and that maybe it contributed to the killings. Later on, it's found out that these killings in Atlanta really were not tied to Christian theology, but to this murderer's sense of sexuality and some sort of aspect of that nature. So it died down. But there's something to be said that perhaps we should be introspective. Perhaps something we did do contributed to that as Christians. And that's fair if we do that with everyone else. Unless you say, well, what could be in the trans community that could contribute to this? I've seen pictures of people wearing shirts saying protect trans kids with a knife in the picture. So are we protecting trans kids by killing people? Now, I don't want to go there. I'm just saying that if we're going to go there with Christians, we should go there with other groups as well. When people say that Christians are overly sensitive to anti-Christian bigotry, this is the sort of event that Christians worry about. The double standard. That when it comes to trans communities, we're going to be sensitive about them being villainized. When it comes to Christian communities, we're going to demand introspection. And we're going to demand that they take responsibility for the action of one. That sort of double standard, I believe, is reflective of a Christianophobia. And you see some of my other videos, you know that Christianophobia is an unreasonable hatred and anger towards Christians, and in the United States is towards conservative Christians. I've done a lot of research on this topic. It is not a myth. I'm not saying it's the same thing as racism or something like that, but it is real, and it does impact how people act. And Christianophobia is the best explanation why we demand from Christians something we don't demand from others. So, does this share some paradigms? A different take on Frey's comments? Something not being talked about, but perhaps needs to be addressed? I hope so. I hope this sort of insights something you like to experience. And if so, please come subscribe to my channel, and hopefully you can see some of my other videos. If you like this comment, please give me a like. If you disagree, comment below. If you agree, comment below. Well, thanks. And please come back. We can shatter some more paradigms.